staying out of the Imperial minefield, talking about Ahsoka Part 7, Dreams of Madness. Woo! We just watched it. This just aired on the streaming. This is basically our reaction podcast. This is our first reaction podcast in a long time.
Really.
True
reaction right after.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediate reaction.
Yeah.
We got it, guys. The tribunal. We went back to the New Republic with this cold open, and we got exactly the scene that they alluded to, which is, Hera is basically being accused of disobeying a direct order. Court-martialed. Senator Ziono just
laying into her.
Nonstop. So
quickly becoming the biggest villain of the entire series.
Yeah.
And a familiar voice. Oh my goodness! Like, what was your reaction to that first scene?
It's like, you clever boy. Well, at first I was like, this was
immediately
not... I was like, that scene was not on my bingo card. Of all the things we talked about in our hour and a half podcast we did for the last episode, I don't think we mentioned Hera's tribunal at all. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I wasn't thinking about it at all.
All week we were like starting text with, if the old stories are true, this would happen.
Yeah. Right. I'll just say I didn't care. Not because I love Hera. We all know I'm a big Hera fan, but I was like, we're so engrossed in the new galaxy and we're so engrossed in everything. I'm like, I don't. So to actually pull it off in a way that made me care, bravo. Like, I was in and pull out some of the big guns to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Filoni, you clever boy. Like, that's all I needed was just, don't worry, Leia's out there somewhere. And then to have this ambassador from our childhood sort of come through and daughter through handing off a data card. It was great. That was great.
Yeah, it was great. It was good. I was very happy about it. A little mystified that there's not a why you wouldn't do that with a hologram. But I mean, I know why. I know why you wouldn't do that.
Oh, we get some holograms in this episode
for reasons,
that
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, to get 3PO and Daniels, I was excited about that than getting a fake produced Leia, right? Like, absolutely. I'd rather have give me that. Like, it's great. Yeah,
it's great.
I mean, there have been there have been a lot of Leia mentions so far. Like Senator Organa seems to be a major player in the story. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of Leia, more Leia towards the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean, when Thrawn comes back, assuming he does, they need to bring out the big guns.
Yeah, someone needs to throw on the gauntlet. Who better than Leia to be like, oh, Thrawn's back? Boom.
Yeah. That's not like a thing you're going to just delegate, which makes me very interested about how the next episode's going to go. But
but again,
especially considering the pieces on the chessboard didn't move as much as I thought they were going to move in this episode.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ground to cover in the last episode. Yeah.
It was fun. It was a ticking clock episode that sort of, with also a sort of a return of the hero moment for Ahsoka. And
all right. So you said some
Sabine growth that's sort of quick. It's quickly the arc is very quick, and there's a lot of, like, I would say, rushed sort of character work in this episode.
Yeah,
which I really thought was going to take longer.
Yeah. Can I get my negative out of the way, and then we can be all positive for the rest of the night? So you because you said the phrase ticking clock, which Carly and I finished watching this.
Time, Adam.
And we both went to the fact, and I loved it. I love that Thrawn is aware of it. I was a little frustrated that our heroes seem to not be aware of the ticking clock.
Well, they kind of got to deal with whatever's right in front of them at the time.
Ezra does. Ezra's like
back.
Yeah, Sabine sure seemed aware of it with her legs up, and then Ahsoka giving a hug, and I'm like, I just needed one little line at the end of just them going, okay, we got work to do. Okay, let's go.
yeah.
That would have been it. Like, let's go. We got to go.
Yeah, I mean, Shinhati knew what's up.
Well, he does see the ship, and that does sort of allude.
Yeah.
So I think you get that ending. I think this episode's just wonderfully directed.
Yeah.
Lots of fighting, lots of giant moments, giant set piece moments that reminded me of Game of Thrones and other shows, where I was like, this is a big set piece for a streaming show, and kind of miraculous I think that's done on location somewhere with giant set extensions. It must be, and it's actual sort of big set piece action blocking. It can't be in the. I just didn't think that scene could be in the volume per se. It just didn't.
If it was, they have now perfected the volume because I had the same thought. Like it looked like it was on location somewhere, and it gave me super Lord of the Rings vibes too. Like just the way they were shooting, the way they're like,
right,
exactly. The war,
like
yeah. High fantasy. They're still doing the high fantasy thing. Multiple plot lines, multiple characters, cutting back and forth.
To me, it felt like a classic Star Wars, especially when they had like two battles going simultaneously, and they cut back and forth between Baylan Skoll and Ahsoka, and
that was tough for me actually. I was like, this is the Lucas stuff that I wish we could sort of distance ourselves from. I like what Ryan Johnson does, where we just hold on a lightsaber please. And we kind of push into it. And we just really take in the beam.
Especially when. And here's what I'll say is, I was not super invested in the Baylan Skoll Ahsoka fight because I'm like, this has to end in a draw because Ahsoka can't lose and Baylan Skoll has to get onto whatever he's getting onto because they've been laying the groundwork for that. So he can't die, she can't die. So I was just sitting there going, how are they going to get out of this? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Hugh Yang. And then so much.
Well,
I thought Hugh Yang took out Baylan at one point. I was like, big
so
for Hugh Yang. I was like, that's
Adam,
big.
You're a smart movie watcher, but for a dumb movie watcher, I was like, they baited me into like, he said his farewell to Shin Hati, and like, I didn't know what that meant, and I thought he was expecting Ahsoka and he was expecting to die. But then,
that's interesting.
Even though when he met her, he's like, oh, I wasn't expecting to see you again. And then I was like, oh, wait, what? But that's what I thought that was, he was expecting to die right there.
So it may not be that you're dumb or I'm smart. It may just be that we have different expectations. And as we talked about last week or 2 days ago, my expectation is that he is going to have a larger arc in the season. And so I think I let my expectations lead me into that battle not meaning much. But if I didn't have those expectations, I guess there's no reason why you wouldn't,
I just feel like they set a bear trap for me and I walked right into it. There was a hunk of meat and now I'm up in a tree.
But that's what they're supposed to. That's what they're supposed to do, right? Like that's the point. You enjoyed that scene much more than I did because of that.
Well, there was still plenty of me being like, but what's Baylan gonna do? Like, doesn't he have?
Well, there's a lot of zigging and zagging that I think Filoni's doing with Baylan that I didn't really catch on to. Which last episode he was sort of keeping Shin in the dark and sort of moving towards some like mysterious power on the planet. And then in this episode, it seems like this funeral dirge where he's just. His time with Shin is at an end and he's being selfless. It's a complete character pivot. And I'm like, well, it's not. Well, no, I don't think it's a complete character pivot. I just feel like it's interesting that it feels like when he's searching for the power that she's not involved in that plan whatsoever. And why bring her out to this wasteland? Why bring her out this far?
I think, to answer that, I think it's because, the more is she's going to be the, Jedi or, the force sensitive, right-hand person for Thrawn. And she's going to help bring him, navigate, help Thrawn sort of with conquering whatever, he needs to
100%.
do. And
that's established
and like,
in this episode. Yeah. She's going to take her place in the Empire is what Baylan says to her verbatim in the episode, which is so cool, which is the sort of the Mara Jade stuff you were alluding to, Adam, when we first started talking about the show, where you're like, could this character actually have legs and be around for a while?
They are doing a lot of Mara Jade stuff with her where she could still turn, right? Like she could still turn, especially, the Ahsoka "let me help you" line was, or "I can help you" was just awesome. But no, I think you're right. I think part of it is, I still think that Baylan is up to something that he knows is not, that his story is at an end. Like he knows wherever he's going, he's not walking away from that. And I think there's a sacrifice play because Star Wars loves sacrifice by a character of some sort. And I think he's going to invert it by he's going to sacrifice to bring about some
greater
Exegorth, some eldritch horror that's going to wipe out the Sith and the Jedi, and what will remain is the Empire with this person that he's been training in his philosophy of the Force.
I think it's a two-pronged attack. Like something that Thrawn is doing is going to pave the way for whatever his greater goal is, and I think that's why he wants Shin to be a part of that, because otherwise why not just take her along with whatever he's doing? Like, I don't know. I mean, his sacrifice play could be like he gives up his body and soul to some like Abeloth type creature, though. I prefer that to be female, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but he's not leaving that place. Maybe he just thinks he's got more to find there. I'm not sure.
I think he does. And what's fascinating is, if you think about it, it is a good look at what the Dark Jedi are, because they're not Sith, right? Because Sith is all about, I live forever, I do absolute power. He seems to actually care about her, and gave like his parting words to her is what saves her at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Right, where like she like Carly was kind of like, well, why'd you do it? I'm like, because she listened to her master's words. Yeah. Like she actually did it. Like she knew she wanted it too badly. She knew it would lead to defeat, and instead she ran. Yeah.
And patience for victory will guarantee defeat. It's like his parting lesson to her, and it's one of the most powerful like things I've heard a Jedi Master say to the Padawan.
Best character ever.
Yeah, it does save her at the end of the episode. Yeah, I also do wonder if he is in fact, like he says, this is the end of my path. If he is in fact thinking he's going to either die or there's more world between worlds stuff to happen yet in the show, because the logo and the sort of text of the show and sort of like all the marketing has sort of showcased the sort of world between worlds. And is this a time traveler parting his last lesson onto his Padawan before he tries to end a cycle, tries to, as he said before, you know what I mean? Like, but other than that, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be like a kind of ancient force thing on the planet.
But that doesn't, your theory doesn't negate what I'm saying, right? Like, that's just another path for him to try to do whatever he's doing. That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's a possibility that we're doing more world between worlds.
Maybe it's just right a world between worlds gate. Like there's just not many of them in there, but there happens to be one in this planet.
He goes back to the moment that Anakin is confronting Palpatine with Mace, and it's. I would love to see that from another angle. Honestly, I would be like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, or do we have another like? Do we have a time travel? I mean, if you're gonna if Star Wars loves to ape like things that are well known in the universe, are we gonna have like a baby Hitler question?
Yeah.
Right? Like, does he time travel back to take care of young Palps? Do we get, what I'm asking is, do we get our much promised Matt Smith cameo?
We've been talking about
like
for
4 years now. That's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I'm beginning to think though that I might not be far off. I don't think they're going back with Thrawn. I think Thrawn's going to escape, and then that's going to be like, just from a logistical standpoint, that's going to be a Mandalorian problem and Rangers of the New Republic problem.
Oh, interesting.
And then Ahsoka's going to be, have to deal with whatever threat there is on this planet. And be sort of stuck out there. But I'm just worried that no matter what happens next episode, it's not going to be a very satisfying ending.
Oh, no. I can guarantee you. Again, as a person whose every single prediction has been wrong.
Yeah.
Every time. But I can guarantee you.
Well, that makes me feel better now.
Right? You're welcome. You're welcome. It's my gift to you. You're welcome. I guarantee you it's not going to be satisfying, because we know it's building up to this large thing, right? And it's so weird to then suddenly have like, there are no Jedi and there's no Jedi, and then suddenly 3 Jedi come back in, or like 2.5.
Yeah.
Whatever we're going to call Sabine, which we'll talk about that whole interaction between her and Ezra.
Who uses the Force in this?
Oh, really?
Well,
well, I mean, I guess you could argue.
Oh, because of the connection between her and Ahsoka?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like in hearing it and in that moment,
the Force flows through us all.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So one way, incredibly strong emission can reach someone who just has.
Let me put it this way: a super powerful Jedi, perhaps one of the most powerful Jedi of all time, who is now like really newly reconnected to the Force, spends all of her energy to connect to another person, and that person just like, yeah, I got a feeling.
Yeah.
Very cool scene, by the way, and love that that's how the Great Mothers found them in the graveyard. I thought that was so cool. I was like, oh, this is great. This is the sort of Dune stuff that I love, like the sort of, precog during battle sort of stuff.
There was a series of cuts in the middle of this episode where it was like the troopers jumping into the dropships from Rebels, which is great to see those again, and like the troopers looking amazing, and then like there's a ship battle, and then there's the witches over a cauldron, and then like it was just like in succession. I'm like, these are all the things I love so much. And yeah.
For me, it was just like I felt like the people were just sort of writing off the scenes that they were in, like almost like the dialogue just felt to service the moment, and we didn't get to dwell into.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of I thought introspection with the characters or further thrawn sort of plotting at all. Really, thrawn is sort of just dealing with a battle plan here.
Yeah,
that's it. And then at the end of that battle plan, which goes horribly awry, he basically concludes.
I'll call that a dub.
I've just loaded up the ship and we're ready to go. So they actually took the L on this one. So,
he has learned from Palpatine, right? Palpatine's like, every loss is actually a victory. Let me explain why. That's a total Palps move. So I will say, like, Carly report again. For those new listeners, my wife has not watched a single episode of Rebels or Clone Wars. She has a little bit of background, but to remind everyone, when she saw the preview for Ahsoka, she's like, "Wait, Anakin had a Padawan? Like that's how much she does not know about any of this stuff, right?" She has been on board for this entire series so far. This episode, she said, didn't lose her. It's definitely her least favorite of the season, and it's because like the ending, she's like, it didn't feel earned to me in terms of like not having watched Rebels, of just like all this giant swelling reunion music. And she's like, I understand that I understand Ezra's the MacGuffin, but I have no emotional connection to this MacGuffin yet. Yeah. I like him. I think he's super interesting. So it's really interesting. This might be, again, it didn't like lose her. Like she still liked the episode in all, but like all the emotions I felt, I realized were like earned through watching all of Rebels. Right. Like, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm like, did Ezra and Ahsoka interact that much? But he did literally save her life that one time.
So I had the exact same conversation with Carly. I'm like, well, I get it, because Ezra didn't really interact all that much with Ahsoka, except for the part where she saved his life. Oh, wait, never mind. Except for the part, I'm like, yeah, he did. They did. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an Ezra-heavy episode, and I loved Ezra, and I thought,
me too.
Just using the Force powers, his relationship with the Nodi, just like. His pacifist nature, his new pacifist sort of nature,
for a while,
and defense-based nature is so cool. Like I love it, and I love that he refuses the lightsaber like a couple times, and then does pick up a blaster later in the fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I have like two things. I like as a devout atheist, I still love the phrase that Noah's an atheist in the foxhole.
Yeah,
like I love that phrase because it's very true as a person who is very agnostic. But the other thing I loved is that like as a person who considers himself a pacifist, has never raised his fist to anyone in anger. You put me in that situation, I'm 100% grabbing a blaster and blasting away. And so I love the fact that Ezra is just like, I'm a pacifist until I can't be a pacifist because I need to protect all of these people, right? Like it's a very thoughtful way that wasn't like done whatever. The other thing is like, I don't think the lightsaber thing, and this may lead us to a larger conversation, is so much about him being a pacifist as so much as him trying to allow Sabine to continue her path, right? If there are let me put it this way, there's two lightsabers on the field, I think he would 100% picked up one of those lightsabers.
I had a completely different read.
Yeah,
what
do you got? What do you got?
He thought lightsabers and Jedi training and sort of martial prowess is actually a damaging trait, a damaging thing to incorporate into your lifestyle. And so he basically does not,
especially for someone who has dipped into the dark side. Right. So it may be kind of an addict's thing. I don't want to pick it up.
I think both of you are right. Actually, I think it's both of those things.
that's Ben's role.
It's a mix. You're saying he's a dynamic character with a mix of emotions.
Right. We all just get along. Stop fighting.
No, I mean I love seeing the growth of his character, and I think it echoes sort of what Ahsoka learned on her vision quest with Anakin. And, a little bit, it's sort of like we are who we have to be. And we had, we were thrust into being soldiers, and it was terrible, but that's not who we are, so.
Because that was what I got with Balin and Ahsoka fighting. I got like, these are the Jedi of war. Yep.
So
look how damaged they are. Except for Ahsoka has now, transcended beyond her trauma
and
through this sort of miraculous.
Ezra, I mean, this is why Dave Filoni is an amazing storyteller, right? Because like the thing I just realized, like literally just realized after watching the entire episode and thinking this all makes sense. Does that make sense? Like it didn't. But like I start going, oh, this is so much deeper. Is the fact that like, so you got all that, and then you got Ezra, who was touched by the dark side, right? Like just has dabbled in it, was.
Oh, Ezra is full dark. When he touches the dark side, it's
he
like
has
it's
struggled.
It's like
he has
metal.
struggled, right? So he struggled. So what do you do with that character? I don't know. You put him on a planet where he has to sit with the purest pacifist you've ever seen for 10 years. Like their entire civilization is around building defenses, not around attacking, right? So you put this person who has touched the dark side in this thing to learn from these people for a decade.
Yeah, and he easily could have met up with the witches.
It's great when Ezra's like, they're peaceful people, and then Sabine's like, peaceful's great, but like, do they know how to defend? Do they have any defense?
They throw a couple rocks and do some damage.
Yeah, they do. They just wreck people with rocks.
It felt very Ewok Adventure. Their whole being is that. But I think they sort of, Filoni was kind of a light touch on it, but he's like, yeah, it was like even in the background while Sabine and Ahsoka were having their vision. But Ezra was like, yeah, I don't know. I was just, wandering around and they took me in and I thought that was nice. So I hang out with them. And like, he was like downplaying it. But I mean, if he had run into a Dathomirian witch first, like he could have been like, I know a Dathomirian. He's my best buddy. Like, what are you doing? In a quest for survival, his path could have gone a entirely different way. He could have been in a red robe or in one of those, suits of armor or something.
Yeah, fascinating to know what will of the Force.
Yeah, right? But I think he has grown, and I think the lessons he learned from Kanan and all that, and I think he chose his path, and pacifism is it.
I think so, and I think the point is that what I was talking to Carly about is she's like, I don't understand who Ezra is, and I'm like, Carly, this Ezra, by the way, is really nothing like the Ezra we left 10 years ago. He is very different. He is not like Ezra last time we left him, cocksure, just was constantly like lightsaber first. He sacrificed himself, did all these things. This is an Ezra who is completely centered. He is a leader. He watches out for these people. He's my favorite thing is he's constantly telling them get back in. I've got this. Go do your thing. I've got this. This isn't Ezra. This is a Jedi. This is Ezra Jedi that we have not seen before. And I kind of love it. It's, again, still can kick butt, still knows how to use weapons.
He won. He saved the galaxy from Thrawn for a short time.
He saved the galaxy from
He took a giant W and just was like, I'll be out here with the Noti in the wilds.
I mean,
it's
arguably, arguably he cleared the field so that Luke could take out the Emperor.
Right.
Yeah. I also wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, last episode I was getting the sense that maybe Thrawn does know sort of how he's going to die himself, and maybe that Ezra's involved in that. I am wondering if there's a sort of a precognition aspect to the story.
You've hasn't
explored yet, because there's hints of it in this episode too, more crumbs basically, when Ahsoka's like, how did they know where we are? What? And then how do they know we were coming? All that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I think they already know. I think they also know where we're going. I think that's what Balin's kind of talking about here too. And I think that's I think Thrawn knows that maybe Ezra. That's why, because you're wondering why hasn't Thrawn sought Ezra and terminated him? Why wouldn't you?
He's had a decade
as a strategy.
He's had a decade.
Yeah. Maybe he just couldn't.
And then. Maybe he couldn't, but this time he seemed like he probably could have. Yeah. He got real close. He got real close to killing him, and he had a Jedi and a half with him, right? It seems like any of these times he could have got Enoch and, I don't know, 5 of those gunships and just tore him apart, right? This is the thing, is something, this is why Grant, I think you've won me over, is something's going on here. It's weird to me that this character's I don't kill him. Now I try to kill him. Yeah. Why now? Why a decade later?
Well, that's kind of how Filoni has written Thrawn. I'm not trying to be negative, but this seems to be the Filoni Thrawn is yes, I let them escape again, and that's all part of my plan, and then I'm gonna do, and it's is that a mastermind, or is he just making stuff up? Whereas real Thrawn, or Zon Thrawn never took L's. He never took L's. He was just every interaction he snatched victory from the mouth of defeat. And I mean the difference is, in a lot of those stories, he every time he ran up against a Jedi, that mucked up his plans. And I think that's why I think he respects the power of a Jedi so much. And in this one, we were sort of given breadcrumbs where he was like, as soon as the fight was over and lost, he was like, where was Balin's skull this whole time?
Yep.
He's like, we seem to be short one mercenary.
Mercenary. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah.
Where was he? I mean, he didn't think fighting Ezra, because I was thinking for a minute that maybe Ezra is like the Hulk and he is that dark thing that's on the planet, and like he's just being, extra. There's like a kind of crazy rug pull. But then I was like, no, that can't be, because Balin doesn't want anything to do with that fight and fighting any of those people and wasting his time with that. It seems like he's on the path to something else, and
so.
I imagine it's great power. I imagine that's where there's whales. It's been so nautical. I'm just thinking maybe a giant like
squid,
Cthulhu. Or
I mean, what like I'm thinking back to my obsession with marine biology when I was a 10 through 20. Like what kills whales? Giant squid, right?
His armor also looks like eldritch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it could be a Lovecraftian thing that's from deep space or something. I don't know. That eats the whale. Like why is there a graveyard? What has picked the bones clean? Like, so
I want to build off something Ben said about the difference between thrawn and Filoni thrawn. Okay. Did you pick up on the thing they borrowed from the Heir to the Empire trilogy in this episode? It was subtle.
Hold on.
I guess not.
It's probably minefields.
Oh, minefields
around the planet.
Minefields. Yeah.
Oh, imperial
minefields around the planet.
Yeah,
now, that minefield in a Zahn book was like,
I think that was in the canon trilogy. Not to bog us down in minutia, but I'm pretty sure there was a minefield.
Was it borrowed, perhaps? Because I thought it was also in the last book. It was in the last command. I think they were all stuck on the planet because they couldn't get off of it.
Because the mines, but they were hidden mines. I think
they were
hidden. A minefield in
it was different. They were
or something like that.
I think so. I think it's a thing
Anyways,
that Thrawn
he definitely is.
Does.
It's just like you don't approach a planet that Thrawn's on and not go through a minefield.
So
he set up a
in Zahn Thrawn, that minefield takes forever to figure out. An entire book.
Yeah,
it's a big thing. In this one, it is a speed bump at best. It doesn't do anything.
It's perilous though. It is like I see they're like tracking.
It's perilous, and then they all get through it. Now here's the difference: is we have a
the T6 Jedi.
We have a Jedi, right? We have a Jedi flying, so Jedi instincts can get you through it. The other thing I think it did, which is building off of Ben, what you said earlier about how you think they're gonna get stuck on a planet, is it chased all the Purgles away.
Yeah,
that's the key of why that happened, right? Because so now she has no ride home other than Thrawn ship, or they're stuck on this planet. And I'm with you, Ben. I think they're at the end of the next episode. I think they're stuck on this planet.
Yeah. Because it's also, she's sort of like, they're all too powerful to have on the board when, I don't know, but are they going to be stuck on this planet for 20 years? Like maybe.
I don't know. But like maybe for whatever's happening with Thrawn, like I wonder if they come back for the movie, right? Because if you have Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker, ezrabridger, sabinewren, like how is Thrawn a problem?
Yeah.
Realistically. And Grogu. Let's not forget Grogu.
Yeah.
And Cal Kestis. I mean, I start naming. I could name the 30 Jedi that are apparently still around.
Right. Quinlan Voss.
He's like, the child is unpredictable and dangerous.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. We must control all variables.
Brutal. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. His Thrawn's great, though. Just hearing his line delivery and everything just sounds so important.
It's so cool. Yeah,
it's these sweet lines, and Lars Mikkelsen's a gem. It's great that they got him to do that.
Really, it really is great and standout character. Speaking of standout character, we do have our medal ceremony. Wow.
Yeah,
do it.
All right.
For this episode as well. Do we have final thoughts though? Like, have we gotten anything we haven't talked about yet?
I've got some tinfoil. I mean, I just wanted to throw it out on the table. Like,
do it.
Does Ahsoka die in the series? This is the Ahsoka show. Like, it should have some massive event, right? I mean, is she going to sacrifice herself to get everyone off the planet, or does that sacrifice just mean she's stuck on the planet by herself, or with Balin Skull, or with whatever this entity is that we haven't been introduced to yet, with one episode left? Like, I'm just wondering, like, there's probably should be something momentous about Ahsoka.
Well, so it's fascinating to say that, because you're basically saying what's the culminating message of this show, like of this of the series.
Yeah, like what's it?
And it has to go back to the Anakin, the teaching.
Oh, we haven't talked about Anakin.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about Anakin.
What are we doing?
Yet another Hayden Christensen cameo, which is great. I forget where this was from, but I remember they've talked about these recordings of his on another show. There was like other Jedi that have watched these. Like he did them as like training exercises for young Jedi and Padawans and stuff. And so that was like...
That was super smart. It definitely connected the two characters together, and the more you can do that for audiences, the better, because it's like, oh yeah, she was Darth Vader's apprentice. That's pretty heavy, like literary material.
There's so much. I want to spend more time on this, but I want to address Ben's question about like, does Ahsoka die? I mean, so the way this has been built out in the series is that Ahsoka is Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? She is the mentor.
Yeah.
And if Star Wars has taught us anything, it's that mentors die.
It's a very cynical view, but you're not wrong.
As a person who mentors a lot of people, it makes me very nervous when I decide to mentor another person. I'm just like, oh no. But like so I'm not being. I don't know, but I think it wouldn't be if she did or sacrifice herself or just was the lone person stuck on this planet. It wouldn't surprise me based on what we've learned from Star Wars. I wonder if they do that and then she comes back again.
That's
In
fascinating.
the movie, right? Like,
I think her perishing would be upsetting for me, and I hope many fans.
Me too.
I think her whole thing is she bobs and weaves, and sort of is outside the reach of both the Great Mothers and sort of the world between worlds. Like she uses the world between worlds to travel between time and space, and she's sort of like our one time traveling character that you can actually get behind, because you're like, in most time traveling narratives, it's just a strange invention, and the person has like, it's just trying to be scientific about where they go in time, whereas Ahsoka is more of a monk character, and so when she travels through time, you can actually get behind that. That's actually something audiences can get behind.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I think you can keep the character around forever, like indefinitely, essentially. It's like, keep having her go through thresholds and disappear mysteriously into the mist. Like, that's Ahsoka to me. She's the wandering warrior of time. Right. Like that's, I hope that's, and I think
happens. that's where I'm hoping. I mean, you said like, what's the overall message, and there may be a message here, but I really hope that the show's designed to just define Ahsoka's legacy and maybe what her next steps are, because I think she deserves a Gandalf sort of ending, like where she does transcend time, where she does have some significant part to play in the Force that's, that only she can achieve because of all the trials she's gone through and the way she's persevered through it. It's got to be some apotheosis plus sort of thing. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And it's just like, she's going to do something great, but like maybe it's like another type of Mortis or something that's here, and she needs to take her place as the daughter or something, or it's, but something that allows her some agency.
I do wonder if there's already been a message of, you cannot, like, no matter how dark someone, no matter how far someone's fallen and how dark they've become in the dark, and you can't take their life. It's not your place to take their life. Even Anakin Skywalker, someone who just did so many evil acts and fell to the dark side in such a tragic and horrific way.
Yeah, which
you still she can't kill him at the end of that fight, and then he congratulates her. I wonder if there's counter messaging at the end of this, where Baylan Skoll's just so dark, has activated such a dark power that Ahsoka's like, I have to take this out. I have to
fight.
Actually attack. I just do wonder if there's. I just don't think that will be the case. No. But just it won't be. Yeah, exactly. It will not happen.
That.
Just be like,
I wouldn't hate it if it happened. I mean, I will. I don't. I think it's been maybe 2 or 3 weeks in a row, but like that moment in Jedi Survivor is one of my favorite Jedi moments, and it involves him. It involves him killing. It involves him killing someone, and as a pacifist, as a person who doesn't love the death penalty, but like he does it in such a humane way, right? Just like, this is
one to the head, one to the heart.
Well, no. What's that? No, wait. Which one is that? No, at the very
at the
beginning, when he kills
beginning.
the very beginning, because he reminds her of who she was. So at least she has this moment of peace before she's one with the Force, right? Of just trying to. So like it's horrible, but yes, it's war, right? And like war is a reality. So I think you can tell that in a way. I think Ahsoka might be the way. I mean, I think we see her not being a pacifist in this episode. I mean, people were a little like thought maybe this like the message she got from Anakin meant that she like was going to be but she was like the first thing we see from her in this episode.
Her training
is her practicing training with with 2 lightsabers, right? And we see her.
I honestly think after her Force vision, she became a Star Wars fan and is basically like, oh, I have the coolest role in the history of Star Wars. My master was Darth Vader.
And he was cool.
Like, I'm an awesome warrior. And
he
I
was a
like,
good master.
And I was like, she's just going to be like, and that's what I think pure Zen is just realizing your story and activating on that story. And that's just where she is now. Like she's pure Zen, where it's like, I'm just happy to be here at this point. And like, I actually have a really crazy history. And it's
wild.
Awesome. You know, like, that's right.
It's weird. As a person who it took a long time to come around to the prequels, was not the biggest fan of the Clone Wars for a long time. I've come around to both those things quite a bit. Carl looked over me when she said he was a good master, and she's like, "Are you crying?" And I said, "No, it's just allergies."
Yeah, he's
really choked me up. That
old
line,
tapes, the old training tapes. She's like, Anakin was a G.
Because I'm like, he was a good master. He was a flawed human being. He had his problems, but he was a good master.
Yeah,
it was wonderful. It was a nice little moment, and it born out of what we saw in the last couple episodes. Like that makes sense that she would feel that way now.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
She's reconciled
and
it.
If you're Hayden Christensen, how happy are you when you hear the line, "He did 20 of these," and Hayden Christensen's like, "I am all set."
Yeah. Here we go. Let's line them up.
Yeah.
I just think she's finally accepted her history and is just now the warrior that she needs to be for the moment.
I was the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, not Darth Vader.
Right.
Like I think that's what she's learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
they take
a similar
the good,
thing that Obi-Wan learned too. Sort of like my friend died, and now there's this monster here, but it's not my friend.
Yeah. I have another question. What's in the box?
Oh, in the boxes.
They're like couldn't say boxes because it ruins the joke. But what are in the boxes?
Yeah,
because it's a big thing. It's a big part of his plan about coming back.
Some new trooper, I think. Some sort of like undead trooper or something. I don't know that he's holding in storage, or like what else did they put in?
Clones.
I mean, cloaking devices. I don't know.
I don't. I think clone. I wonder if it's clones. If it's clone Jedi. I don't know, or is it Jeremy? What are they called?
Snokes.
What are the things? The Snokes in the box.
Those are all Snokes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Snokes in a box. It should be a cereal.
Gross as cereal.
Honey nuts of Snoke.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's all just gold. Who knows?
I do love that. Like we have those 2 big mysteries. Like the 2 big mysteries to me, going into the end of the next episode that have to be answered is what's Baylan Skoll up to and what are in those boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to know. Like the shoe needs to drop with that character specifically.
It's got to probably happen in the first act too, because oh my God,
I know,
unless it's an hour and a half long episode, which I hope it is, but
it might be because these episodes have been longer. I mean, this one's only like I think 40 minutes, but it's still like longer than what we got for Mando.
Yeah, on the whole, they all have.
Yeah. Well, Thrawn just getting back to the known galaxy is a pretty big plot point. You can hang your hat on that. You know?
Yeah.
But that's not Ahsoka to me. That the show's called Ahsoka to what you're saying, Ben, where it's just like the show's called Ahsoka. There has to be a defining moment with the character. She's gonna somehow. Well, I don't know. Again, like, is there another confrontation with Baylan Skoll after this episode, or no?
There has to be, right?
I mean, well, is she not racing? Are they not trying to get to the Eye of Sion and like hit the ride, or what are they trying to do right now?
Are we in like wild speculations? Ben, you seem to have an idea. What do you think? I have my thoughts.
You just made an excellent point, and I'm befuddled.
Yeah,
you're right.
So I think they are going back to the Eye. That's where they're going. And then suddenly, as like the most in tune Jedi, she feels something, and she's like, "I gotta go take care of this. You 2 go to the Eye."
Yeah.
Like that's my theory of what season at the end of this.
Yeah,
They're going to the
that's a
eye.
good
She's
theory.
going to
Take care
deal
of
with
the thing.
Balin's
Yeah,
skull.
there's always the master
Yep.
has to go.
Yeah, has to
face
confront. Yeah.
yeah, that's classic.
Again,
It's
I've been
a big
wrong
one.
about
Yeah.
literally every prediction about the series.
Well, again, she just fought him. And I'm just like, okay, and then like I guess he has to take a new form or discover the power and activate it, and then it's a different fight or something.
Yeah.
But
I wonder how hard
either.
Thrawn's going to look for Skull too, or Morgan Elsbeth. You know, Thrawn seems to think he's disposable, but Elsbeth has had him around for a while. Shin Hati's going to want to know where he is. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think he's fully AWOL now, though. So, that's going to be interesting.
I see. But when you were saying last week that Balin Skull's the main villain of this series, which he is for Ahsoka, all the Jedi sort of reflection points. Thrawn is the character that I'm most worried, like stakes wise, I'm most worried about. Like he's the character that I think could just end the villain of this series, end, all the other characters that are sort of outside his purview or his control, and then get back to the known galaxy. Yeah. Like that's the character I'm actually worried about. Like I don't know. I feel like he could make a big move that we haven't even talked about yet. Like there's something.
Yeah.
Like it's Thrawn.
Yeah.
We're talking about Thrawn.
Yeah.
What do we do? We've been talking about all these other things. It's just to take our eyes off the actual master strategist who has everything measured and calculated.
I'm wondering if your two mysteries, Adam, aren't connected in some way, and
maybe
I'm trying to conceive of a way where Ahsoka actually leaves. Like they could just like all go discover what's in the box, and then we have like a side plot of Balin finally discovering what he has, and that plants a seed for a super villain maybe in the Rey series or somewhere further down the line. But I mean, they're so far from the sequel trilogy right now. They're still like 20 years, so
I know
15 years.
He really wanted MCU.
Balin and Ahsoka fight in the world between worlds, like between time and space. Basically.
That is true too. They could meet up.
And like they're talking about stopping cycles of Jedi and Sith and empires, and maybe we see glimpses. Maybe Filoni gives us glimpses through thresholds into like certain moments or other timelines.
So it's so weird. So if that's the case, I got a question for you. So what was the planet where they had their battle and she ended up in the world between worlds?
Yeah, she fell in the world between worlds.
So if that's his,
I
can't think of his name, but if that's his goal, is like, why didn't he do it there? Or was
he
that
didn't know he could have done it there. Yeah.
Oops, I had to go to a whole other galaxy. I could have just jumped off this cliff.
Yeah.
Or is that just some other weird thing where she still has a connection to the world between worlds?
Maybe there's an actual hypergate.
Or was it not the world between worlds, like somebody said a long time ago?
That's true too. But that also would mean that it wouldn't be Anakin's Force Ghost. But anyway, the other thing, is that, or Ahsoka is so connected to it or whatever, like she can go there without a gate, right? Like we don't know what her connection is to the world between worlds. So maybe that's a force power that she learns, that she can enter that area without being at a gate.
Yeah, and maybe that's what the power Balin's seeking.
Yeah.
And, but she discovers she can do that naturally, and that would make her this sort of wandering, wizard.
Yeah, exactly. I love happy Ahsoka.
Yeah, me too.
It's also watching Rosario Dawson be able to do that, which she is such a light of a person in general. Like she just like fills up a room. If you've ever seen her do anything ever, it's like to be her so stoic at the beginning of the season. Totally understand, great reasons for plot, but I'm like, why do you have a Rosario Dawson? Like, why are you using this actor? And then second half of the season, I'm like, oh, that's why, because she can actually do like old school Ahsoka. Like she feels like old school Ahsoka.
Yeah.
When she was flying, there were shots that I was like, "Is this Rebels? This is like amazing."
Okay, thank you for saying flying, because the last thing I want to talk about is the thing that broke my brain. That literally, I had to pause the episode because it broke my brain. So Hu Yang talks to himself. He literally is flying the ship and says like, "Oh, they friends reunited. I hope I see them again."
Yeah.
I always survived long enough to see.
Yes, I hope
to see everyone get together.
It's like, as a human who talks to himself occasionally, I make sense. why would a droid talk to himself?
Hey, when 25,000 years old you are, you're going to talk to yourself too.
He's
fair
old,
enough.
bro.
He hasn't had a memory wipe. That's the
stuff.
same C-3PO. But
OS.
man, that I literally was just like, I'm like, Carly, pause. Like my head hurts.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say what Jenny said, which is like, how come these starships can't hit anything?
Oh, that's also a good question.
All right, you want to do the medal ceremony?
Sure.
Medal ceremony. Let's do it. All right. Chosen one award. Who was the standout character of the episode?
Ooh.
I gotta say, Ahsoka. Just arriving into battle.
Yeah.
I'll go
That's a
with
good pick.
Ahsoka.
I mean, that's the first kind of the first like we got a little bit of her last episode, which again, a series named after Ahsoka.
Yeah.
We got 30 seconds of Ahsoka last episode. The last episode was great. So to see her like new feeling, that's great. It's so hard for me, but like I love the Ezra we got in this episode, and I just it like warmed the cockles of my heart to see like Zen Ezra. I was very happy with that.
Yeah, same for me. Ezra's my...
Yeah, I love the amount of Zen we're
Yeah,
getting.
I was so happy to see Ezra on the screen, and just see who he is now, and just have him do
peaceful and happy,
doing Ezra things. I love they have his scars from the animated series on his face, which was cool. But yeah, he was definitely the standout for me. I hung on every word and action he did.
Background player award. Trying to think here.
So that's
Skull
like
is
who's that?
kind
Like
of the
minor.
Everyone gets a nice even
Yeah.
serving.
So
Maybe
guess
the Great Mother, sort of like
Oh,
the Great Mothers
yeah.
are kind of background, and they don't do a lot, but they get some cool shots and they kind of win as background players. But Stormtroopers, I mean, I was loving Stormtrooper scenes in this.
Yeah, seeing those
I
guys in action was cool.
I liked him. I'm a little lower on Enoch for some reason. He didn't win me over as much this episode. I don't know why.
Is he on the? Is he on?
I think he's on the eye.
Yeah, I think he's on the
Oh,
eye.
he's on the
I think
eye.
he's on the eye. So like how so if we're talking about backgroundy, I have to go with not background. If everyone like minor character has lines but is not big, Hayden Christensen Anakin. Like he clearly watched every episode of Clone Wars because he is so much closer to Clone Wars Anakin, and I love it. And it makes me want more of this. Good. Like he says a part of like I can't remember what he says, like do something, and he goes at least more than I did.
Yeah.
And there's that moment that was just like, oh, that is so Clone Wars, and it felt like Matt Lantern, and it just felt like, but he delivered it in such a great way. Like I'm like, yes, please, we need more Hayden Christensen like Renaissance.
Yeah. That's great.
Utini
shot.
We got some. Oh, did you pick your background player?
I think I picked a couple. I forget. I don't know.
You said like Stormtrooper.
Well, the Stormtrooper. I'm actually looking down the list of things to see if it'll come in later, but the battle coordinator droid, that was kind of my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Good
call. Good call.
I like that.
I've loved those droids so far. Like all of Morgan Elsbeth's droids.
Yeah.
Those things are cool. The gold is so cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that last episode where I've been like, is the gold
Yeah.
like this fun new like coding for maybe what the past looked like, the Sith? Because like I don't know if you've read some of the old like Sith, the Dark Horse comics, but it's like the Sith had like gold, like structures, gold buildings, gold lightsaber hilts, everything was gold ships and stuff. Lots of gold.
Yeah, it's odd that some of that stuff got taken over by the older or the High Republic, because it feels very like
right,
evil.
Yeah, it's actually like perfect for the Sith. I just love the design of those droids. That's cool.
Yeah, so good.
Utini shot. I'm gonna go with just the Great Mother, kind of finding where they are in space, or Ahsoka talking to Sabine, is sort of that shot of Ahsoka. Was really.
Yep.
I've got another landscape shot. It was just Balin's skull, like on his being a warg rider, like climbing. It was like just by himself on a cliff, looking over like the
so good
foggy like landscape. That did it for me.
Good call. That win.
It had scale that felt like that was such a great shot. I had that shot picked out earlier as well, and I feel like it's one of those things where I think someone interviewed Filoni before the season premiered about him directing the film, and kind of asked him about the volume, and he's like, "No, I'm comfortable shooting locations when I need to.
Yeah.
And I feel like just
Yeah.
just wait till you see the
It's
show.
so
Like
good.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Don't
Looks
worry
great.
about me. Like I get it. Like
I really like when
attention.
the T6 enters
yeah.
enters the minefield too, and you see like some mines following it, and like just some of that camera work and some of that framing is amazing.
I had to change the contrast of my television, which I have to do all the time because of the way
It's hard to
blacks are
see the
now
mines,
displayed
right?
on screens. The mines are hard, but I really liked their version of the minefield, the minefield. Their version of the asteroid field chase in the old bones of the Purgles. There was a couple of scenes that were really beautiful there. After I paused it and changed the contrast.
I love when Ahsoka jumps out of the T6 and you see the ship, you see the T6 fly away, and the ships warble and fly back after it. I was like, this is prime Star Wars.
That is some original, I'm sorry, that's some sequel, prequel trilogy stuff there. There was a lot of prequel trilogy, like this is what George would do. Like Jedi can jump out of a ship and
roaring
just tuck
sound
and
design, bombastic sort of Jedi moves and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Sunless Space Award, best line of the best dialogue, best quote.
I'll stick by my quote from earlier, which was, "You seem to be missing a." I'm misquoting it now, but we seem to be short a mercenary.
That was a great dig.
That's such a good one.
Yeah.
There was a moment, and I can't remember the exact phrasing, but Ezra's just like, "We can talk. Do you want to talk?" Like that talk line. I'm just like, hey, we can talk. Like it felt like I that's the moment where my brain switched over and I saw it animated. Like for a second, like it felt very Rebels.
So
like, it's that little moment.
We'll take Balin's skull off the board because it's almost too epic. He's just like
everything.
Parting lesson for you. Impatience for victory will guarantee defeat.
You can choose that.
Then he's like, "You will take your place in the coming empire." Like these are the things I've been waiting for in Star Wars. Like these lines are just incredible. They're so epic.
Can I be vulnerable with y'all and admit something that I had noticed until this episode, and I feel really dumb for not noticing? Okay. And you're all gonna be like, of course you did. Shinhanti has and this is not a revelation, has a Padawan braid, which I think everyone knows, and I just noticed in this episode. And I'm like, that's one of those things where I'm like, that's amazing. I know it's been there the entire season. Just saying. I just noticed it. Just being honest. Just like I just figured out that Blink-182's album title, "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket," is a pun, which I never got until
I had a couple of those moments last week.
Oh, yeah, right. Own the album, love early 2000s punk, and I just got it last week in 2023.
Nice. Better late than never, I suppose.
I am dumb.
I will.
I do like Hu Yang. Hu Yang says, "Directly to the point, as always," or whatever. At that point, I was like, I'm going to use that.
There was there was a great bit where she tries to get him all riled up. She's like, "Why didn't you say something?" And he's like, "Oh,
yes." Just the growth, it's what great droid writing in this
Morgan
show.
Elsbeth bringing up the Inquisitorius database.
Yep.
I was like,
yes,
please. I was like, Lord check.
I forgot she said
that.
Oh, man.
I forgot. Yeah, that's great too. I forgot how much Ezra's just like, so the Emperor's dead, and I think Sabine says so everyone says, so people say. I just love that little breakdown, and I was just waiting for the Luke Skywalker drop, and it didn't happen.
Yes,
and that was the one thing where I was waiting for just name them.
Yeah,
just name.
He's
them.
like, did a farm boy ever come off of Tatooine and do anything special?
I really wanted
that. Would have been amazing. And
I would have been great. It would have been. I can see why they didn't do it, because that would have been Carly would have looked at me and paused and be like, "You gotta explain why does he know that?" So I get it. It's that would have been for us, but just it just would have been there's a couple of knowing glances that were just for us who watched Rebels, where he just said, "And someone named Luke Skywalker is now the head of the Jedi thing," and he'd be like,
"And where's he from?"
Just a little moment of just
that would be great. They might be saving it for the finale.
I think we might get a Luke Skywalker drop next episode.
I'd like a name mention. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Ben Burt's Badge of Excellence, best sound effect or moment of sound design in the episode. Minefield?
My vote's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, Ben. I gotta be honest. Nothing really popped for me, and I don't mean that negatively. That's just who I am.
The vehicles rolling across the countryside.
Oh yeah.
Because I can't remember exactly what it was, which means I was like completely in it, and so whatever they did was probably perfect.
Right. And the starfighter, just the dogfight.
Yeah. Are they those like
gold
Japanese fighter planes from World War II? Like, is that pretty much what those starfighters are?
Yeah, it's so cool how like a lot of it's coded like Lord of the Rings, and then it's also like World War II, and then it's it's so cool. The show is really fun in terms of its blending of genre, and then it's a full on samurai flick. And like you really see the medieval samurai almost
totally
clash like the with Balin and Ahsoka in that scene. So cool. Just really fun blending of styles and approaches to everything. Best drip.
Yeah, I mean, we don't
really have any
new
here,
really.
right?
I mean, I guess we have I'll give it to C-3PO. Best drip. Honorary award.
There you go.
Lifetime achievement.
I love it. Yeah,
I think Hera has new.
Actually, Carson Teva.
General Syndulla.
Oh yeah, Carson Teva's looking a little more dapper
in his flight jacket on.
Yeah,
he's
got his
too.
Yeah, he's got his fancy fatigues on.
Dress fatigues. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Chopper. Chopper was a good reaction of just like a mere
but
droid.
like when he starts like besmirching droids, he's like, hold me back, Carson. I love that.
Yeah. He's like, hold me back.
Yeah.
Hold me back.
Yeah. Hera didn't have her flight goggles
that's
on,
why she looked a little funny. Right. She didn't have the goggles.
Yeah, because she had the ear. You could see her like ear humps. Pardon me. That sounds wrong.
Please.
I don't know. It sounds less provocative.
It was a cool one. Yeah, I'm going to go Hera for this.
General Hera.
Hera's good.
I've been waiting to see her for a long time because we read all those books about her being a general. So that's kind of a.
I know. Yeah, it's good to see
kind of exactly how I imagined her.
Yeah. I am enjoying. I mean, I still love Ezra's look, and to actually see it more in action. It looks lost in a desert for 40 years. Look.
Yeah. This weapon is your life award. Best weapon, gadget, or item featured in the episode. You may choose armor.
This is probably where I should have picked that battle coordination droid, because that was really cool and that was.
I'm saying the map, like the hollow map they have.
So
like that was cool. Enoch just like appearing.
Yeah, it came out like magic. It was a weird.
It's
particles.
Totally different. I love that. I caught that too. Just like I thought about that. Like they're differing technology of holograms, right? And I love that. It's parallel thinking. They're really a different thing. It's so funny, Grant. I was going to be on the other end of that, which was the droid that was doing the hollow mapping. Right.
Oh, yeah,
so you see that droid.
Yes.
There's that little tiny droid that's out there on the battlefield and leaves right before. And when I realized that, I put it together, I'm like, oh, that's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Scanning the battlefield.
That goes off the top. I was like, this is so cool. Like Thrawn, of course, is always scanning at the same time he's deploying. It's so cool. It's so cool to see the battle plan on that hollow map too.
Yeah.
Like the hexagons. Like that was cool. You got
that was it. It's that battle scan droid was the one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Don't try it award. Worst decision made by a character in the episode.
Where to start?
So I'll just restart my negativity of like our three heroes not realizing they're on a clock. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. That was your major gripe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't need to talk about it anymore. I just want to reiterate.
Yeah. I love this. This is great. Yeah, so true. I'm gonna say Thrawn for just wasting his oxygen talking about this stuff. Like, if this is all thought out, like I don't think you really need to go and look at the hollow map and watch your troops get vanquished. It makes no sense. Like, I think you're gonna lose. If you're putting two Jedi together, or two Jedi are about to be together, and guess what? They're together, and there's a very likely possibility you would lose once they're together. And so 3 Jedi, if Sabine is now a Jedi.
Or, 2.5.
After sensing the Jedi.
2.5.
I'm giving her half Jedi.
That won't give me the full point.
For now.
She has a lightsaber and some
might be
training.
Jedi.
That's half.
She has a
That's
yeah,
the
exactly,
non-force half.
Yeah.
Even Ezra's like, Sabine's like, Ahsoka took me as her Padawan. Ezra's like,
yeah.
like, really?
That's a good point.
Whoa, they're like really addressing it in the show.
But he didn't go super negative about it, right? Because his follow up was like really diplomatic. It was like, oh, that makes sense. You did do some training with me before.
Yeah.
You could see it was great acting on.
It was him trying to dig himself out of a hole, I think.
Of him trying to like dig him out, and he was just clearly like,
it was a great scene, though, just because this is the conversation we've been having as fans, being like, okay, like she's gonna wield the force, will it into being, and it's fun that I'm hopeful that she actually will become a Jedi.
Right? Because Ezra
and a Mandalorian. I think we had a Mandalorian discussion last week.
Yeah, it makes sense though, right? Because like I think that's why I loved watching Ezra, because for all of Rebels, like he was kind of our avatar. He's like our POV for so much of this. And so it makes sense when he gets back on the scene, like he's asking the questions we have. It's like we can kind of see
exactly.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Again, for a little bit.
Yeah.
My don't try it.
You're so right.
Yeah, my don't try it is.
I love how they fight together too. That how they
who fights together.
I said I love how Ezra and Sabine complement each other and they fight together. Ezra's like using the Force and Sabine's using all weaponry and just like full arsenal. Yeah, it's cool. It's actually like there's a kind of cool duality to those characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's yours, Ben?
I want to say Bale Skull, but like I'm gonna let that one go because like him parting with his like prematurely, it feels like with his person.
It does.
But I think the real one is Shin Hati not taking Ahsoka's hand and coming back to the light side and going back with you.
Call.
Yeah,
great call.
It's like you have a tried and true.
Yeah, you had a chance.
Maybe she doesn't know how legendary. Yeah. I mean, maybe she probably should, but it's like, that she's really her best bet if she, if Shin Hati ever wanted to live a light side life, a good life, which I'm sure calls to her. That would have been her out right there.
Yeah. If they're going for Mara Jade-esque storytelling, she's not quite the Emperor's hand yet, right? Like if she ends up becoming Thrawn's right hand, like this may be a longer game with this character where like she does eventually come back to the light side, because the thing that I think we're missing the most in Star Wars is a dark side character who's redeemed and has to live with their redemption, right? Like we give them the easy out, right? And one of the things I love about the old EU is like Mara Jade, through her entire storytelling in all of the EU, is still struggling with all of the bad things she did for the Emperor, right? Like I love up into her end, spoiler, there's an end for her, is dealing with this, right? And it leads to this, and I won't spoil it for people who haven't read the EU, but it leads to this. It leads to a beautiful crescendo with that character, which I kind of love, right? But I think we need that. I think we need someone who has come back from the dark. And
one more thing for the Mara Jade watch. So I think you remember you dared me to find Mara Jade in Jabba's palace, and I found her.
I remember the text you said. Yeah,
I don't know. I think I might have posted it. It might be on Instagram somewhere, but I don't know if I actually ever did pull the trigger on it.
I need to see this picture because I'm over here.
Okay, I've still got it. I've sent it around, but it was like at 3 a.m. because I was like,
you texted us. It was late. It was
no. So it's a blonde. It's a blonde girl.
No, it's actually
that's
a person
in there, and she's sort of like being handled by some sort of matronly other being, maybe a Twi'lek, something with a big headdress or something, but she's in there, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And if that was only 5 years previous to this, and Shin Hati is like 19 or 20 or something, then like that it adds up. Maybe. And they're both blondes. I'm just saying, maybe Mara Jade, new canon, is blonde, not redhead.
That's the connective tissue they're looking for in Lucasfilm.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Honest to God,
they'd be like, listen, we can start with a character in the deep background of Return of the Jedi. Then we can retroactively construct a backstory. This Hallmark trilogy.
Yeah.
A new landmark trilogy.
They're just recreating the old EU because that's all the old EU used to do was just find a random character and build that character up. But like I would love that, and I feel like if anyone wants some background information, I think it's funny is that like as that person who's like I basically we end the pod. This is late for me. I will go to sleep. I will wake up, and the next morning, inevitably, there will be three texts from Ben saying like, "Oh, by the way, I just rewatched the Return of the Jedi," and I set these, and I wake up every time I see that, I'm like, "Oh, I like Ben's life."
Yeah.
I love my life. I love my life, but I love the idea of like, oh, I could just have like 2 more hours of Star Wars after this, but no, I have to go to sleep.
Trust me, I paid for it later.
And do things.
Everyone paid for it later. In my life, but it was worth it. No regrets.
Pod does get me hyped.
Yeah,
too.
I just after this pod, I get fired up and I want to watch a Star Wars. You know,
I love it. I do too, and I sit and try to fall asleep for an hour in bed. Like I just sit there thinking about Star Wars. Thing. Shut up. Gotta go to sleep. Let's do a podcast. Go to sleep. Shut up, brain.
You guys just made me think. Like, there's plenty of like time real estate in there where if like Filoni could do a trilogy in here if he wanted, and these characters and all the things and that which yet to come next week. Like, there's enough there to do a little trilogy because, like, how does the capital move from Coruscant to not Halcyon Prime? Is it Halcyon? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Halcyon. Right.
Hosnian Prime.
Hosnian Prime.
Right. Hosnian.
Yeah. So you're saying there's some sort of siege on Coruscant that sort of pushes
maybe there's
Prime.
Maybe he surrounds it with landmines or space mines.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm not really thinking about bloodlines where that follows, but
well, I think he does bombard Coruscant with like asteroids. Right. He like cloaks asteroids. And, like,
also,
bombard. We can't really
don't
Heir to the Empire.
Ben, do not think about any novels or any comics because I have a feeling in reality, if Lucasfilm's like, can you give us a more bombastic thing that happens between these? We will ignore the old canon and somehow try to explain it, or the new canon explain it away, right? Which, as a person who deals with canon,
reveal at the end of this show, and she's like,
there could be.
Let's go, Han,
or maybe
Thrawn.
both things.
Sorry.
Han and
Han. Let's go fight
Thrawn. We gotta fight Thrawn. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you had 3 feature films that might warrant de-aging or recasting the big 3 or 4 with Lando,
So.
I'm surprised they don't do Kid Ben Solo. Like, I feel like that is.
We may. I mean,
people would
count it out.
It would bring so many people in because they'd be like, "Oh, that's Ben Solo." Like the younger generation of fans would be like, "Oh, that's Ben Solo. That's before he was Kylo Ren." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's huge swath of people would be like so bought in.
Every time I see a dumb thing on the internet about Filoni's gonna like retcon the sequel trilogy, I laugh. Because how much work the Mandalorian, the Filoniverse is doing to try to connect the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy is like they're not getting rid of this. This is canon. Love it or hate it, this is it. And I'm choosing to love it because hating it, and I listen to podcasts that hate it, I'm like, you're wasting your energy. Stop watching Star Wars if you're that upset. Because this is it. This is what Star Wars is. Either love it or
kind
go
of like
away.
a more deftly handled Fate of the Jedi sort of Legends storyline. Yeah. It's like doing the Jason Solo thing, but I think more efficiently. And what a wonderful tale to do with Han and sort of the performance that Harrison puts in there. In the 2 times he's there, it brings the character around in a wonderful way. And then Leia in the second in 8 is great.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can hate on those movies in certain ways, and there's a lot of like weak sauce in those movies, but like that gave us like Han talking to Ben.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's worth it. Like, everything you dislike about the sequels is worth it for that one scene. I still cry. I will cry every time I see that. And I know it's just a force projection or whatever, but like, come on. Like, is your heart made of stone? But to bring it back to this, I think you're right. I think there's real estate for them to do a trilogy here. And like, that also builds up the sequel trilogy a little bit. It explains a little bit why they're on their back foot for the First Order. If they've just fought this giant war against Thrawn and the Imperial remnants, and like it cost them thousands of lives, maybe this is why they've moved their headquarters, their capitals. Maybe this is why they're not really super pumped to create a new giant new war machine. because it cost them so much again right after.
There's like a demilitarization effort in full swing where they're like, or I don't know actually, because Leia is like, we have got to fight the First Order. The First Order are evil.
Yeah.
She's like straight, like she is just already calling the shots. Like, we have to fight them, and she's amounting. She has the fleet back together. You know, the resistance.
She's asking families to sacrifice their children.
Yeah.
Again, right after 2 giant wars, and maybe the people are just like, no, I'm done. I'm done with.
That's why everyone's so tired and just bent out of shape in the sequels. They're just like, another war.
Like, exactly.
The Thrawn. If you do a Thrawn, I personally just think a single movie is all you really need. But like,
probably
if you just
depends
do,
on how big it is.
Central that conflict that sort of explains the sequel trilogy, explains Bosnian Prime, explains how the First Order rose without much of effort to stop them, you know, like how maybe just another war could then everyone in the galaxy would be jaded and they'd be like, well, in the Empire we didn't have these wars, and you know, the New Republic seems to be, you know, squandering their opportunity to actually lead this galaxy.
Yeah, it's real talk.
It could stir up a lot and make the sequel trilogy really sing, because right now the sequel trilogy is a little bumpy.
No, it is
still
it is airtight. I don't know what you're talking about, Grant.
Yeah,
and
that makes me think about the
8 is the best visual entry in Star Wars.
As a person who has really enjoyed the sequel trilogy, yes, to say it's a little bumpy is being charitable.
All right.
It's okay. We still like it. We still like it, Ben. We're not going to be that podcast. But
no, I know.
Come on.
I'm like, I want to get us on another crazy vector, because now I'm like,
please do.
You know, because I'm wondering if
Space Bear poke the Space Bear.
I'm thinking about Rey's movie. If not trilogy, it would be fun if she's like, no, everything fell apart when there was this bureaucracy. It only stayed together with the help of the Jedi. We're gonna just have like not a monarchy, but like just sort of like theolarchy. I don't know what it is, but like the Jedi are actually gonna run the universe. Like that's what we need to do. We need to pull the galaxy together, not universe. We're gonna pull the galaxy together, and it's actually gonna be like, we're gonna take the Senate out of it. Like maybe a
theocracy or whatever.
I guess it would be a theocracy.
Yeah, theocracy.
And the Jedi would have it would be a Senate made of Jedi. On each planet.
That'd be
awesome,
right?
It'd be awesome because,
as the father from Mortis said, too much light or too much bad would cause everything to.
Well, but it would be fun though, right? I mean, because like everyone would be afraid of her. She could take her Empress title, like she, you know, if maybe it's not Empress, but she could essentially be the like lead Empress, and try to be a benevolent dictator, but like, you know, and then some of these Jedi or Force sensitives that are running whatever are going to go asunder, and you know, hilarity.
Which is, by the way,
people want her as a sort of like a leader in a theocracy after, you know, knowing that she's the, you know, granddaughter of.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. It's rich.
They have no choice because she's so powerful, and B, you know, they have no choice. But they will question it. But it's just like, well, I'm going to promise you all these things. She starts delivering, and then people are like, all right. Not to mention, she did save the galaxy. So.
Yeah, and you get so much of this in the old EU. It's not quite as like tight as that storytelling because they didn't quite know what they were doing, and it was like, we'll do this and we'll do this and we'll do this. But when you look over it a long term, there is the idea of like, what is the role of Jedi in this new galaxy? Should they be super tied? Should they be separate? Should they be leaders? Should they not? There's storytelling there that you can do, because you can do that in a way that shows a slow drift. It's the path to hell is paved in good intentions, and you can have that being Rey's story, where it's not just like this. Anakin is fine. His mom dies. He slaughters a bunch of sand people, and he's a Sith, right? Like I feel like Anakin's that we talked about is like that. His fall is just not well constructed, in my opinion. So you could have this, but you can have someone like a Finn step in.
Yeah. Like
and save compass. Her, and as a moral compass to save her before she does, and do this that she's touched by it. She's been touched by it, and she's no longer pure of heart, but she's moved away from it, right? Which is, we get a bit of that with Luke in the old EU. I mean, Luke in the old EU, spoiler, falls to the dark side in the old EU at a moment, like through the Emperor Reborn. Like that is a thing that happened in the old EU.
Right. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things that haven't been done before.
Well, Dark Empire too. Like, comic run.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I feel like Rey definitely could lead the Jedi Order, and I think like, but I just don't know if she herself would want to be the leader of the New Republic because she wouldn't want to control things because she's a Jedi.
But who knows what wacky things are going on in her.
Right, until she's like, fine, I'll do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just like there's something that's too far where she's like, I have to step in, right? Like that's the thing. It's path of, good intentions, right? And to the point where she's just like, I have to do it, no one else is doing it.
Yeah, well then again, okay,
I don't think that'll happen, but
I think you guys are on the money, honestly, because I feel like if you look at where the movies end.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you were like drop this pause. I know, I was like, that's a dramatic pause.
When you see the movies end, it's Rey's basically the last one. She's the last real leader who has all that connective tissue to. Who has all that connective tissue to Leia and Han, Luke, and the leaders of the Resistance. That therefore, when there is a reformation of the what do we call it? The Free Republic? We were plotting way back. We were like, are they going to rename it some new name?
Just call it the Republic.
Or like you're saying, Ben, is it a theocracy? Does it become the Jedi Order actually becomes like the actual hub of leadership? I personally can't see it. I can't see that.
I know what you're saying, but now like I think there's a compromise in there where if it is a truly free republic and it's sort of there's no more policing, maybe there's no central government, it's just like a group of sovereign nations, but the only connective tissue is the Jedi Order. And any sort of diplomacy goes through the Jedi Order.
Oh, that's really interesting. You could almost run it like a UN, but the people sitting up in front of everyone are Jedi, right?
They're the messengers. They're the communicators that hash things out.
That'd be great to see it from the ground up too. To actually see that new. Built out where it's.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be really interesting. There's fertile storytelling in that for sure. I like that a lot.
Yeah, just seeing how that government would operate with the new Jedi Order and sort of just that.
I just don't want another Galactic Senate. I know that sounds super like whatever, even though I believe in that method. In some ways, I just feel like it's done. It's been done so many times.
Yeah,
in the galaxy, we need something different.
And I'd love something a little science fiction-y and like to explain that, like, you know what, with a galaxy that's this large, this can't work. Because it didn't really work before the Clone Wars. It didn't really work in the Empire with like an autocrat, and it didn't work afterwards. So, like, let's try something new. How about we try something new?
I mean, it barely works for our country.
I do feel like there will be theocracies, but it'll be in the ancient past. So I think when we do go back in time, I think it'll be more like Dune, and it'll be like
you guys mentioned
religious cults and different organizations that are basically the governing heads of the galaxy, like empresses and emperors and crazy religious organizations, and Jedi will be like leading the galaxy in the past if they follow.
I think you guys mentioned it, and I sort of pushed back on it, and this was several months ago, I think, at this point. But the stories of what's going on in the new Jedi Order and the first Jedi or the Dawn of the Jedi could have a lot of parallels, like interesting sort of parallels between them.
And that's what Kathleen Kennedy came out and said. She was like, we expect these two movies to actually speak to each other in some way.
If you pull yourself away from, if you just objectively look at Star Wars and anything that's doing a large thing, is everyone wants to be the MCU. People should stop doing it. Should stop striving to be the MCU. But like we're talking about corporations and people making corporate decisions. So they want an interconnected universe. Right. I actually think what Star Wars is doing right now is actually pretty smart, and hope they keep doing it, which is like have one interconnected story and let these other things happen that don't pull it. Like, I love the fact that Andor is not going to inform anything other than Andor, right? And then Rogue One. But like I also feel like those things are going to be interconnected, and there's going to be like Easter eggs and laying things and laying long track. I also am very nervous about that.
Yeah. Honest. But the first movies, I think, could be pretty similar. But then as they sort of get into their third acts, we see how one group zigs and then the other group zags. And then so over the course, assuming that they keep building out those timelines forward, they can grow into different places, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Stories start in the same place, end in different places.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because I would like to see the cycle broken, so I'd like to see the current New Jedi Order doing something different than what brought us to the original place. But I don't know. We're telling mythological stories that are, by their very nature, repeat themselves.
Cyclical. Yeah, I know. It's such a weird thing. I was listening to something that was talking about this. I can't remember if it was Star Wars related or not, but just like, well, it almost feels like comic books. Like if you read comic books, which I do, I have read every Marvel release for the past 20 years. Every week I read everything. I read it all. I do.
Wow.
I love it. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like everything in comics is Act 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like you can't have a finality in those things, because you can. And the new writing team comes in, and then you have to bring this new creative team in, and like these these giant, like we see it in the MCU, we're going to see it in Star Wars, right? Like you can't have. There's no end point, which is somewhat depressing.
Are you telling me there's going to be wars?
Always wars in the stars.
Yeah.
But like you got to innovate, you got to or you just got to tell it in different ways and do different stuff. And that's why, like Ben, you came up with like a really interesting idea that we haven't seen in Star Wars, and it give us Star Wars but in a different flavor, right? This idea of a theocracy and
I don't know. It could be neat.
Yeah.
Memeable moment. Sorry, I was getting back into the metal. That all
I
came
forgot
out
we're
of
doing
Don't
metal
Try
show.
It. Yeah. That was a half hour on Don't Try It.
Sorry.
Maybe the. So do you guys just want to talk or? Hey,
no, I'm trying to think of a.
No, that's my memeable moment.
Always.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Good. Well done. That was perfect because it worked.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
really good.
Mine. The Ezra one.
I guess the Emperor's dead or whatever is. I can.
Yeah, or people think, or people say.
The Emperor returned.
Yeah,
it's kind of like this.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I would go with either of those. Nothing else.
So I guess like the Emperor died or something.
Yeah. So people say.
Nice.
I maybe Hugh Yang's just groan, like a droid just groaning in response is kind of perfect. I'm just like,
yeah,
like I felt like
Droid
him,
groan.
like dealing with the three of them, like,
yeah. That was good time.
I guess spectacular species. We don't.
No, but I'll continue with the no-T, because we got a little more no-T, right? We got this idea.
Get more no-T.
Like I love that they are not only are they hermit crabs, but so are their transports. Like everything.
Yeah, we really get to see their transports in action in this episode. They're like little hover shells. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those bandits just get rocked.
Yeah, those bandits kind of are not good.
rocked.
They're kind of dumb. We also don't know anything about them, but they clearly work.
They look
cool. They look cool. They look very cool, but they clearly work for Thrawn and the Night Sisters, which I don't think I realized.
That was from the last episode. It was the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
There was a brief alliance.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha.
But they look so cool. The actually Drip, man. I don't want to undersell those characters. They're like
they have pretty sweet.
Samurai
pretty cool
with sick helmets. Like they were awesome.
Well, for me, like Shin Hati, like last week, wins like every episode.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick her. Yeah,
the armor.
Yeah, the glistening like the shoulder pauldrons and then the like
did you notice?
Gauntlets. Yeah,
she has a Padawan braid.
And no,
that's actually part of the fit. Really, that like actually makes the fit.
It does. Yeah.
It does. It works.
Convincing creature award.
Wait, so what's the difference between spectacular species and convincing creature?
So species is sentient and creature is a creature, non-sentient. Is that your? Is that your?
I don't know. I guess
I need rules.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Species is sentient.
Spectacular sentient
creature is
species?
non-sentient. It's
Add sentient in there?
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're. Well, I mean, you mean? Yeah, you mean? Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I'm trying to help you out here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not trying to blow up your spot. I'm just
animals versus non-humans.
Just say yes.
Yes.
There you go. After all that, no, nothing. It's basically either you got Purgles or Wargs.
Yeah,
and they're not wargs. What are they?
The howlers.
Orcs
Actually,
howlers.
I love that the howler was just hiding in the like compartment that
That's
steals
right.
every scene.
That was a good moment. Yeah, let's go with that. I like that.
One with the Force Award, best Force-related moment.
Easy.
Or moment in which a character uses the Force.
Easy, man. I think that's when Ezra blocks a lightsaber blow with his
hand.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing, hoping no one was gonna say it.
Come on.
No, it's all of us. We're all on the same page. Because just the Ezra of just
when he blocks that saber, you basically see the red blade like rippling and extending off the saber. I was like, this is so cool.
I love that was his like, I don't need a lightsaber, I got the Force, which is a great moment. And like I love that he's not OP with it though. Do you know what I mean? Like it is very much what we've seen in the past with like being able to block and force push, but he's not having a lightsaber or access, I'm guessing, to kyber crystals for the past 10 years. He's had to hone this ability to be able to like force push, and that's it. Like I love it. Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Was very cool. Oh man, if I had to pick another moment, let me think here. I guess the moment in which the Great Mothers find them in the field is also a Force moment, and that was just cool in terms of sound design and
seeing her eyes open and they're jet black, that was really cool. When she's like,
that was spooky stuff.
Yeah,
that's it. I think we handed out the awards. Chewie's happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Even though you can get one once again.
Well, he always gets a medal on our show. That's what's important. Right on, man. All right. Well, hope you all enjoyed a little more prompt coverage this week. I don't know.
Look at that.
This is what we wish we could have been doing all this time, but everyone's doing their best.
Lives.
Yeah, and next week we will definitely be covering the finale. I'm not sure when. I think it'll probably be a couple days after, probably Thursday. I'm hoping to do some stuff there, but we'll have to work that out. But awesome. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode and are stoked for next week. And thanks very much for listening to us as always here on Cantina Chronicles. Cantina Chronicles.
What?
There we go.
I also have a Cantina Chronicles button, so that was